What's good, everybody? It's your boy Matthew Broomfield. I'm back with another video. It's been a minute since the NBA offseason has started, and it's been a lot of big moves going on across the league. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. The first move that I want to talk about is that Russell Westbrook from the Washington Wizards has been traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. This move has been in the media for quite some time now, and it's really been a heavily criticized move. A lot of people in the media are against this move, as there was a rumor coming out saying that Buddy Hield was also a potential target for the Lakers to look at acquiring, just because he's a better perimeter shooter, and that would have really helped out the Los Angeles Lakers. I believe, though, that Russell Westbrook was possibly the best choice that the LA Lakers could have went with. And here's why, in my opinion. Just his versatility as a player is just one of the best in the league, and we'll get into that later. But let's look at some of the points that the media has been criticizing Westbrook on. The main one is that they've been saying that Westbrook is a ball hog and that he's not going to mesh well with LeBron James and yada, yada, yada. This concept of a ball hog, to me, in my eyes, is just something that's a myth. I believe that a lot of people will think that a ball hog is somebody that basically has the ball at all times of the game, and they're just shooting any shots that they want to take, and they're just chucking up a hell of a lot of shots. I believe that this is a myth because there's something in my eyes. I believe there's something known as a ball dominant player, and here's what I mean by that. A ball dominant player is somebody that needs the ball in their hand to have a great impact on their game through their abilities. For example, Kobe Bryant is probably somebody that they'll consider a big ball hog, but in my eyes, I see Kobe Bryant being a ball dominant player just through his scoring ability. Kobe Bryant is one of the greatest scorers ever. Of course, we know that, dropping 81, things like that nature. But him scoring a lot helps his team win. So if you have a player like that, you need to get him the ball so he can create shot opportunities. You need to give it to him in the right spots, let him take over the game, because you have a better chance of winning as a team. Another example, Chris Paul. His playmaking ability to be able to shift the defense and get his guys some great opportunities to get better shots is, bar to none. Like, he needs to have the ball in his hand to do that, though. That's a ball dominant player. Ben Simmons is another prime example. He's another great playmaker in this league, but he needs to have the ball in his hand to set his guys up for success. And to be honest, you can see that him not being in the game in the playoffs this past season due to his struggles on the free throw line, it really messed up the 76ers, because now you're taking out your best playmaker who needs to have the ball to be able to make great decisions. And you see what happens when he doesn't have the ball in his hand. Your team is not effective with him. So I think Russell Westbrook falls into that category. That is my opinion for sure. And I don't think you could be a ball hog when you're playing with the second best leading scorer last year in Bradley Beal, which he was averaging about 31 to 32 points. A lot of the shots that Bradley Beal takes comes off the three-point line. And if you really look at the percentages of people, of the great three-point shooters across the league, it's usually in the middle 40s, low 40s percentile. And to be honest, it's that way because they take a lot of attempts, though. A lot of people that shoot a good amount of threes, or they have a good three-point percentage, they take a lot of attempts. So the efficiency, the gap between the makes and the attempts is going to be larger than any other shot attempt, like in the paint or a two-point shot, a mid-range jumper. So with that being said, though, my point, Bradley Beal needs the ball a lot to be able to average about 32 points per game. So can you really be a ball hog, though, if you have a guy that's shooting at that great of a level and scoring there? I mean, I don't know. But to move on, like I was saying, that Russell Westbrook adds versatility as a player to the Los Angeles Lakers, and here why. For him to be a player that has averaged a triple-double last season was just phenomenal. And that's nothing new that we Like, we know he does this. He's been doing this for his time and time again over his career. He's a guy that can get you consistent triple doubles. And if you're really a big statistical guy, I don't know how you can sit there and call him a ball hog when he's dominating in 3 categories. So let's just break it down, what he can add to the Los Angeles Lakers. He averaged about 22 points last year. I mean, granted, when you're a guy averaging triple doubles and dominating other aspects, and then you're playing with a leading scorer, you don't need to score. You know, that's not your job. That's not your role. With the Lakers, I believe that if they need him to score, he can score. He can take some of that responsibility off of LeBron and everybody else on the team, including with it, if he needs to be. But let's move on. The second category that he dominated in was total rebounds. He averaged about 11.5 rebounds last year. That's total rebounds, so that's on the offensive side and the defensive side of the court. And for him to be a 6'3" point guard, barely hitting 200 pounds, that's phenomenal, because the rebounding is really made for your big guys down low in the paint. That's where rebounding is going to benefit the most, and that's where people expect to get all the rebounds. But when you're a point guard at 6'3", averaging more rebounds than a lot of the big men in the league, that's saying something. That's saying something about your skill. Yes, he's athletic, but also he can dominate in that area where it's very, very rare for a point guard to do that. So he adds that to the Lakers. He has that physicality, that athleticism, that motor. Last but not least, this is the category that kind of goes into him also not being a ball hog, but he dominates the assist category bar none. He averages about 11 assists last year too. For a point guard to do that at a high level, a lot of players only averaging about 5 to 7 assists on a good night. And for Russell Westbrook to dominate in that category, that's really going to help out the Lakers. And I believe that people only see assist as a concept of basically, oh, I have the ball, let me just give it to my teammate. He's going to do what he needs to do to get a shot. Once he makes it, oh, that's my assist right there. And no, you got to really look at the nuances of an assist. How players can shift defenses to get their teammates better opportunities to score the ball. A lot of times when Russell Westbrook going on a fast break, he knows that he's going to have the ability to draw defenses and have them collapse all on him. All he needs to do is make sure that he has the right guy in the right position, trailing or whatever, so they can be in the best situation to make a shot. That's what really goes into assists. You're really controlling the game and the tempo and things like that to get more efficient assists and get your teammates going. And then obviously get your team points on the board. And I believe with Russell Westbrook doing that, that's tremendously going to shoot up some people's scoring averages on the Lakers, which I think that's really going to help out Anthony Davis a lot. Yes, LeBron James is on the team and he's still dominating, but people are not really drawing to LeBron like they are Russell Westbrook, especially on a fast break where he's taking off. Like, he's one of the best players to go north and south quick as hell. And obviously the defenses are going to collapse on him. And the same thing as a paint player, like, he's good in scoring in the paint, so that's just going to lead the defense to collapse on him. They're going to have to come off of somebody. It might be very rare that they come off of Anthony Davis, but at the end of the day, Russell Westbrook is great in his own right, so you have to collapse on him. And that's just going to put Anthony Davis in better isolation situations or make him get into his spots quicker and have more efficient shots to take off. And he's going to be scoring like crazy. I believe that won't, like, the style of play that Russell Westbrook will coexist with LeBron James, and here's why. LeBron James is one of the top 3 scorers of all time, first of all. So if you don't think LeBron James can score at will and change to be that type of player, like, I don't know what you've been looking at the past 17, 18, 19 seasons, but he can do that for sure. LeBron James knows that he's on the back end of his career, and he knows what he has to do and what to sacrifice to help make the team win. And LeBron James knows that. I think he's always been one of those conscious players of playing the game, quote unquote, the right way, like people say. And he knows that as a player, especially being year 19. And after having the past 3 seasons dealing with a little bit of injury. I think he understands that having Russell Westbrook to come in can give them the ability to do something else, take the load off, and he doesn't have to play 35 minutes a night anymore because he can trust somebody down to run the ball for them. And I think he's willing to make that sacrifice. Anthony Davis as well. He's been hurt. I mean, the number one issue with the Lakers is injuries. And so the addition of Russell Westbrook and some other players, as I'm going to mention soon, they're taking the load off of some of those players that's already been there, specifically LeBron and Anthony Davis, who run the core of that team. So I think that was a real good pickup choice by the Lakers. Some other pickups that they have, Carmelo Anthony is definitely one that I like. Obviously, it seems that it might be the near end of Carmelo Anthony's career as he's teaming up with his old buddy. Obviously, to probably try to get one last shot at getting the ring. But Carmelo Anthony being a top 10 leading scorer of all time, and his one-on-one play is unmatched, and I still think you have to give where credit's due. Even with Portland, he was still getting the job done when he needed to be. He's one of the best one-on-one players of all time, and I believe that's also going to decrease the load on LeBron James specifically and Anthony Davis, because Carmelo Anthony is big enough to play small forward, power forward, and he can play as guard. And you can't really match up on him too well. I mean, he's a bigger frame forward, so he can hang with the power forwards and maybe some of the centers. And if you try to put a guard on him, he could just bully past them as well, And he's quick enough off his first step in a triple threat to be able to score. So I think if you give Carmelo Anthony enough minutes, I don't think they did in Portland exactly or utilize him the right way. But if you give him enough minutes off the bench, I think and I believe that Anthony Davis could at least give you a good 15 to 18 per night. That's just my opinion. They also had Dwight Howard again, which their defensive presence is just going to shoot straight up. Anthony Davis is already a decent defender. I'm not going to say great, but he's a decent defender. But with Dwight Howard coming back, I mean, his defensive presence when they won the championship in the bubble was just amazing. So I think they're not going to skip a beat with that. And even when he was with Philadelphia, he was doing the same thing. So they also brought back Rajon Rondo, which I didn't personally think they should have gave him up first, but I'm glad that they got him back because, I mean, now you just have a whole bunch of options. The Lakers just created themselves a whole bunch of options to use to basically help deload the stress on the stars and LeBron and Anthony Davis. And I think this is just really one of the best put together teams in the league other than the Suns. And so, I mean, yeah, one of the main things that people are saying is that the age of the team is getting there because Rondo is the youngest, which he was the oldest on every other team that he was before. Now he's one of the younger guys. But at the end of the day, age really isn't a detrimental factor in the NBA, and this is why I'm going to break it down to you like this. I'm not saying that it's not a factor because obviously that you see LeBron James has been missing 28 or 33 games in the last 3 seasons. So, I mean, you have to look at that and have to be like, look, that's him aging. He's in year 19. He can't be playing 38 minutes anymore like he used to. It just won't be good for the body, especially when you're getting down to the postseason for 82 games. But players like LeBron, he's still averaging about 25. He's still dominating the game in other areas that he can. He's still dunking the ball well. I mean, Vince Carter, even though he changed up his playing style, he wasn't dunking the same. He still played. He had a good longevity career. Michael Jordan did. Kobe Bryant, he did, even though he had a little injuries at the end, but he still was able to play about 17 years and still be a factor in games. It's not like teams aren't worried about LeBron. LeBron is still they want to call him the washed up king or whatever. But at the end of the day, when you're playing the LA Lakers, your number one concern is going to be LeBron. I mean, that's just going to be it. So, I mean, I don't think age has really affected anybody too much. They can still do what they need to do at a good level to them. And usually the Legends' good level is great to an average player. So, I don't think it'll be bad. One thing I also been seeing in the media, though, is that the Lakers, since they acquired all these pieces, a lot of people are trying to negate the values of other teams that did well last year, specifically the Suns. A lot of people don't think the Suns will be as good as they were last year. I, on the contrary, disagree with that. I believe the Suns have one of the best put together teams in the NBA right now. They have a deep bench presence. They have veteran status on their bench with Cameron Payne. He's really came through last year when CP3 was out for the first couple games due to COVID. I think that Devin Booker, he's one of the best two-way players in the nation. I mean, you have to respect that. He can still drop 40 a night and he can play defense on your best players. And then Chris Paul is just a player that people fear across the league. Every team that Chris Paul has been on, they at least made the playoffs. And that's respectable across the league. And he's still a good shooting point guard. He can still score at will when he need to. And I think that's just good. But the biggest piece that I think the Phoenix Suns have is DeAndre Ayton. And here's why. And to be honest, he's just one of those bigger dudes that are able to move across the floor anywhere and guard. I believe DeAndre Ayton can guard anywhere from a point guard to the 5 spot, and for him to be that big. And it was showing last year when he faced the MVP in Jokic. He really did a good job against him, and I just think that he has the length, but he's way more athletic and he can move better than most of these bigger guys his size. I just think he has nowhere else but to go up from his level of play last year. He was kind of scoring about 15 points last year, especially in the playoffs. But I think this is going to be a year that Phoenix is going to actually play through him a lot and Devin Booker. And I could see DeAndre Ayton easily averaging at least 23 and 12 next year. So, I mean, don't discredit other teams, especially like teams like the Utah Jazz and people like that. And to be honest, with everything that's been going on in this offseason, my prediction of how the West is going to lie, I definitely believe since Jamal Murray is coming back to the Nuggets, that's just going to make them blow through the roof. I can see them winning the #1 seed next year. That's just my honest opinion, especially if Jokic plays the same way, because a lot of people may think that Jamal Murray coming back, Jokic might not have the numbers that he had this year. That won him MVP. But one thing the Nuggets have been consistently doing over the past 3 years is that they've been trying to play through Jokic. They've been trying to get him more shots attempt, and they've been trying to play through him. Jamal Murray really comes up clutch when they need him, and Jokic is not doing what he needs to be doing, or the opportunities are just not coming his way and they're not falling for him. That's when Jamal Murray steps in. So I believe that they're going to really utilize Jokic, and when he's going to start collecting double teams next year after winning MVP, because that's just going to be it. And a lot of teams don't have bigger guys to guard him. Jamal Murray is going to be on the wing. Michael Porter Jr. is going to be on the wing, and it's just going to be lights out. The Utah Jazz, it's hard for people, I guess, to put them in the top 3 because of what they always do in the playoffs. But the one thing that's weird about the Jazz, and I don't know why, is that they always been a good regular season team. They always probably been the best regular season team in the NBA. And for some reason, though, when they go to the playoffs, it just they can't get over that hump. But I won't knock them out this time. I really believe that they're going to make it over the hump next year. I want them to make the Western Conference Finals. I think they can. It's going to be tough this year, especially with Klay Thompson coming back to the Golden State Warriors and things like that. You just have a lot of teams to worry about, Memphis and such. But I still can see them going for 2 or 1 again in the Western Conference. So, I mean, I have Denver at 1, and I have Denver and Utah either being at 1 or 2, however the order falls. Then I can see possibly maybe the Lakers at 3, just depending on how things mesh at the beginning of the season. But the Phoenix Suns are definitely going to be top 4, I believe, in my opinion, next year in the Western Conference Finals. I believe the Grizzlies are definitely going to make the playoffs again. I believe they are meshing well. Ja Morant's coming into his 3rd year, I believe. And, I mean, he's just not showing any signs of, like, slumps or anything. He's just improving. I hope I don't jinx him with that comment, but I really like how the Grizzlies play, and they have a young core. So, I mean, and Brooks 2 for Grizzlies has been playing phenomenal defense as well, and came out his shell as well as a scorer. Really showing his skill on court. After that, the Warriors, I think they can possibly make it. It's just hard. Let's see what these trade talks are like. I mean, they're probably not going to trade for Ben Simmons. I don't think they'll do that, and the media has been reflecting that. So, I mean, we'll see. But the West is going to be stacked. The Mavericks are definitely going to be back. You can't never count Luka out. And the Clippers as well. I think they're definitely going to make it in. So, it's going to be a lock for sure on the West. For the East, that's a little bit easier to decide. I mean, there's only 3 teams you really have to focus on right now, and I think the Milwaukee Bucks are one of them, the Brooklyn Nets, and the third team might surprise people, but the Miami Heat. I mean, they made the finals 2 years ago, and now granted, they came in, they got swept by the Bucks. But I believe that if you put Miami against some of these other low teams like the Washington Wizards or anything like that, they would have been just right up there in the playoffs. But I think they're definitely going to bounce back. You can't never count out Jimmy Butler. Especially can't count out Jimmy Butler. And then Bam Adebayo, I think he's going to really have a comeback year this year and prove to people that, like, hey, like, my size isn't a factor. I can still play the way I need to play. Hopefully the Boston Celtics, they can regroup and recollect. Jason Tatum looks like he's been working hard and they're ready to come back as well. They have to just worry about... I think this could be a good year for the Boston Celtics too, because a lot of the stars that they've been getting, such as Kemba and Kyrie, I feel like that always had a hindrance on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to shine through and really play the way they need to play, because I don't think a lot of the veterans is giving them the respect. But I think you need to, because Jason Tatum's at this young age is already becoming one of the top players in the future of the face of this league, and Jaylen Brown is just right behind him. But Jaylen Brown understands his role, and he's not getting greedy. So I think that's really dangerous. And they just re-signed Marcus Smart, who I believe is the leader of that team and the core of that team. And I just believe with him at the helm, obviously Jason Tatum is going to be in the spotlight, but I believe Marcus Smart is going to be at the helm, and they're just going to be phenomenal next year. Definitely the Hawks. I like the way they played. They really just got efficient offense. They just got so much talent on that offense that it doesn't even matter. They're going to outscore anybody any day. The Knicks too as well, picking up Evan Fournier. That was just big. And also Kemba Walker too. I think New York was the stage for Kemba, and I think he's really going to shine there. With Tom Tibbs and D Rose coming back, which is very, very huge, because as a veteran, D Rose can come in and play when he needs to play. But adding Kemba Walker eliminates the whole thing that happened last year with D Rose in the Atlanta series, is where you're taking a big risk by playing him a lot of minutes back to back, but you know that he's basically injury prone. So you definitely got to look out for that. But to wrap it all up, in my opinion, I definitely think the Brooklyn Nets are going to make the finals next year. I don't think they're coming to play with anybody. I would like to see the Milwaukee Bucks and the Brooklyn Nets in the Eastern Conference Finals. And in the West, I definitely want to see the Lakers make it. But that's just going to be tough. So I can see Denver making it. And if the seeds fall right, I can see Phoenix making it back too. But we'll have to wait and see. With that being said, I appreciate y'all for checking out this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Check out my other content on my page as well. Also, on the outro clip, please check out the link to my website. It's also going to be in my my description as well. Please go check out my articles and my Instagram page as well. Give me a quick follow. With that being said, love you all and God bless.